Picture this. While you're reading this, Meghan Markle might be pacing around her Montecito home, checking her phone every few minutes, waiting for news that could either save her carefully built empire or watch it crumble in real time. What happened in a Florida courtroom this past September wasn't just another celebrity legal spat. It was the moment everything Meghan thought she'd left behind came roaring back with the force of a legal tsunami. You know that feeling when you think you've won something, only to discover the game was far from over? That's exactly what happened to the Duchess of Sussex, and trust me, what I'm about to tell you will make you see this whole family drama in a completely different light. The day everything changed, September 2025, will be remembered as the month Meghan's world shifted on its axis. While she was probably enjoying her morning routine in sunny California, completely unaware of the storm brewing hundreds of miles away, her legal team was walking into what can only be described as an ambush. Here's what nobody saw coming. Meghan's lawyers strutted into that Florida courtroom with the kind of confidence you'd expect from someone who'd already won the battle. After all, they had good reason to feel secure. Just months earlier, Samantha Markle's defamation lawsuit had been tossed out like yesterday's newspaper. Case closed, right? Wrong.
Be proud of who you are. Work hard. You don't have to pretend to be someone else. You don't have to dress like Diana. You don't have to say you got grants and scholarships.
What unfolded in those few hours would make even the most seasoned legal drama writers jealous. The three-judge panel wasn't just asking routine questions, they were dissecting every argument Meghan's team presented with surgical precision. Court observers later described the atmosphere as electric, the kind of tension you could practically taste.
We started wondering, what's up with this? Like, why? And we've started to realize, aha.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Those same confident lawyers who walked in expecting a routine victory were reportedly looking increasingly uncomfortable as the judges pressed deeper into the specifics of what Meghan had actually said in her various interviews.
The stories would come out. So apparently, according to other journalists, we found out that there were a lot of porcupines probably told to the royals and even to Harry.
The very statements that once seemed like innocent family clarifications were now being examined under a microscope that revealed details nobody had considered before. The foundation of this legal earthquake. To understand why this appeal has everyone in Hollywood holding their breath, we need to go back to where it all began. And let me tell you, this story has roots that run much deeper than anyone realized. Samantha Markle, 17 years older than her famous half-sister, had been watching from the sidelines as Meghan transformed from a struggling actress on a basic cable show to one of the most recognizable faces on the planet.
You didn't get grants and scholarships. You never worked for the embassy. What do you mean you only did a 5-week study program?
Imagine watching someone you grew up with suddenly become untouchable, surrounded by palace walls and global adoration. The psychological impact of that kind of transformation on family dynamics is something most of us can't even fathom. But the real explosion didn't happen when Meghan joined the royal family. It happened when she decided to tell her side of the story to the world. Remember that Oprah interview? The one that had everyone glued to their screens, watching as Meghan opened up about her struggles with royal life? Those seemingly casual comments about growing up as an only child and barely knowing Samantha weren't just throwaway lines to millions of viewers. They were devastating character assassinations to someone who shared decades of family history with the woman sitting across from Oprah.
5-week study program that doesn't equate with working at the embassy, which she told Rachel Ray and Craig Ferguson on live television. So all of these lies started coming out.
Think about it from Samantha's perspective for a moment. You're watching someone you've known since childhood essentially erase you from their life story on global television. Whether you had a close relationship or not, being publicly dismissed as irrelevant by someone with that kind of platform isn't just hurtful, it's potentially life-altering. The media blitz that lit the fuse.
He was the first one that got the phone call, "Daddy, I met a prince."
What followed that Oprah interview was a carefully orchestrated media campaign that, according to legal experts, may have been Meghan's biggest strategic mistake. Every interview, every authorized biography quote, every carefully crafted statement seemed to reinforce the same narrative. Meghan as the victim of family dysfunction, surrounded by people who either manipulated her father or sought to capitalize on her success. Here's what makes this particularly fascinating from a legal standpoint. Meghan wasn't just sharing her personal perspective. She was making specific claims about other people's motivations, relationships, and character. In the world of defamation law, there's a crucial difference between saying "I felt isolated" and saying these people were motivated by greed and jealousy. The authorized biography Finding Freedom added another layer to this narrative construction.
The thing is, when I look at the allegations, I'm like, yeah, I would say that's a strong case of defamation against someone, you know what I mean?
While Meghan has maintained she didn't directly contribute to the book, it contained detailed passages about family dynamics that painted very specific pictures of various relatives, including Samantha. When you're building a public narrative, every piece of supporting content becomes part of the larger story you're telling the world. Industry insiders who've watched this unfold say what struck them most was the methodical nature of how this narrative was constructed. It wasn't random comments here and there. It was a comprehensive reframing of family history that positioned Meghan as someone who had always been isolated from and targeted by relatives who couldn't accept her success. The legal filing that changed everything. When Samantha finally decided to fight back legally, she didn't just file an angry lawsuit full of hurt feelings. What she presented to the Florida court was a 20-page document that legal experts describe as surprisingly sophisticated in its approach to defamation law. Here's what made this lawsuit particularly dangerous for Meghan. Instead of making broad claims about being generally misrepresented, Samantha's legal team pinpointed specific statements, traced them to exact interviews and media appearances, and then connected each statement to measurable harm to her reputation and opportunities. This wasn't the work of someone seeking attention or looking for a quick settlement. The level of detail and legal precision suggested that Samantha and her lawyers had been building this case methodically, collecting evidence and documenting patterns of allegedly defamatory statements over an extended period. What made the timing even more strategic? By waiting until after Meghan had made multiple statements across various platforms, Samantha's team was able to establish what they argued was a clear pattern of deliberate reputation damage rather than isolated incidents or misunderstandings. The most damaging aspect of the lawsuit was how it reframed the entire narrative. Instead of family drama or sibling rivalry, this was now a legal question about whether a global celebrity had used her platform to systematically damage a private citizen's reputation through false statements. The false victory that made everything worse. When that first dismissal came down in 2024, the celebration in Meghan's camp was reportedly intense. Sources close to the situation describe a collective sigh of relief that this frivolous lawsuit was finally behind them. The dismissal seemed to validate everything they'd been saying, that this was nothing more than a desperate attempt to embarrass the Duchess and generate headlines. But here's what Meghan's team apparently missed in their victory celebration. The dismissal wasn't based on the judge determining that Meghan's statements were true or that Samantha's claims were baseless. It was largely a procedural dismissal, focused on technical legal requirements, rather than the actual substance of the defamation allegations. This distinction turned out to be absolutely crucial because it left the door wide open for an appeal that could resurrect the entire case with even stronger legal foundations. While Meghan's team was planning how to leverage their victory for positive publicity, Samantha's lawyers were already crafting an appellate strategy that would address every technical weakness that led to the original dismissal. Legal experts now say this is where Meghan's team made their most critical error. By treating the case as definitively closed and celebrating publicly, they painted themselves into a corner where losing an appeal would look dramatically worse than if they'd remained cautiously optimistic from the beginning. The appeal notice, when it came, changed everything overnight. What had seemed like a clear victory suddenly looked like a temporary reprieve, and the stakes somehow felt even higher than they'd been originally. Florida law, Meghan's legal nightmare. Here's where things get truly terrifying for anyone in Meghan's position, and it's something that legal experts say should have been obvious from day one. Florida's defamation laws are notoriously favorable to plaintiffs, especially when you're dealing with a powerful public figure making statements about someone with significantly less influence and reach. The deadly twist in this legal scenario is that Samantha technically qualifies as a private figure under Florida law. Despite her media appearances and public statements about Meghan, She doesn't meet the legal threshold for being considered a public figure. This classification is absolutely crucial because it means she doesn't have to prove the incredibly high standard of quote, actual malice that typically protects celebrities from defamation claims. Instead, Samantha only needs to demonstrate that Meghan's statements were false and damaged her reputation, a significantly lower bar that legal insiders say could be surprisingly easy to clear given the global reach of Meghan's various media appearances. During those September oral arguments, court observers noted that the appellate judges seemed particularly interested in the power dynamic between the sisters. When someone with Meghan's platform and media access makes statements about a relative to audiences of millions, the potential for damage is exponentially greater than typical family disputes. Florida law specifically includes provisions designed to protect individuals from being steamrolled by more powerful parties, and that's exactly the framework Samantha's legal team is using. They're painting a picture of a global celebrity systematically destroying a private citizen's reputation through carefully calculated media appearances. The most chilling prospect for Meghan: if this appeal succeeds and the case proceeds to trial, she could face extensive discovery proceedings where her private communications, strategic planning sessions, and internal discussions about family members could all become public record. Everything she thought was protected could suddenly be fair game in a Florida courtroom. The industry earthquake. While the legal drama plays out, the entertainment industry has been quietly reassessing its relationship with anything Meghan-related, and the implications are staggering. Major players in Hollywood are reportedly treating this case like a canary in the coal mine for celebrity narrative control. Netflix executives, according to industry sources, are having serious conversations about the risk-reward ratio of their ongoing partnership with the Sussexes. When your business model depends on credibility and authentic storytelling, having a partner embroiled in a defamation battle about the truthfulness of their own family narrative creates obvious complications. Brand experts say what's particularly damaging is how this legal battle strikes at the core of Meghan's post-royal identity. She built her new brand on being an authentic truth teller, someone willing to speak difficult truths about power structures and family dynamics. If she's legally found to have spread false information about her own family member, that entire brand foundation crumbles. The ripple effects are already showing in subtle ways. Marketing executives who were once eager to associate with Meghan's star power are now taking what they diplomatically call a quote, and see approach. The royal connection that once made her so valuable could become a liability if it's proven she wasn't truthful about her most basic family relationships. Major brands are reportedly implementing what insiders call family litigation clauses in celebrity endorsement contracts, protecting themselves from association with stars who become embroiled in defamation battles with relatives. The Meghan situation has opened executives' eyes to a type of risk they'd never seriously considered before. But the stakes go beyond just immediate financial losses. If Meghan loses this appeal and the case proceeds to trial, she could be forced to publicly apologize and potentially pay significant damages. Imagine the global headlines when the woman who positioned herself as a victim of family dysfunction has to admit in court that she defamed her own half-sister. Samantha's strategic masterclass. What's becoming increasingly clear is that Samantha Markle didn't stumble into this legal strategy by accident. Sources close to her legal team reveal she's been methodically building this case for years, collecting evidence and documenting every single statement Meghan made about their family relationship. This wasn't the desperate move of a bitter half-sister seeking attention. It was reportedly the calculated strategy of someone who understood exactly how to exploit the weaknesses in Meghan's public narrative. Court insiders say Samantha's legal team came to those September oral arguments armed with a devastating timeline showing how Meghan's statements about their relationship evolved and became more damaging over time. The masterstroke in Samantha's strategy was reportedly letting Meghan continue making public statements about their relationship even after the lawsuit was filed. While most celebrities would have gone silent on the subject, Meghan allegedly continued referencing growing up as an only child and having limited family connections, giving Samantha's lawyers even more ammunition for their appellate arguments. But here's where Samantha's plan gets truly sophisticated. She deliberately chose Florida as the jurisdiction for her lawsuit, not just because she lives there, but because Florida's defamation laws are particularly favorable to private figures who claim they've been harmed by more powerful public figures. Legal experts say Samantha's team also appears to have anticipated Meghan's likely defense strategies and prepared counter moves for each one. If Meghan claims her statements were opinions rather than facts, Samantha's lawyers reportedly have evidence suggesting they were presented as biographical truth. If Meghan argues her statements weren't about Samantha specifically, they have documentation showing the clear connection, the most strategic aspect. Samantha has reportedly been building relationships with other family members and former associates who could potentially testify about Meghan's actual family relationships. This isn't just about two sisters anymore. It's about a coordinated effort to challenge Meghan's entire family narrative, with testimony from people who were actually present during the events Meghan has publicly discussed. Behind the Montecito gates, while this legal nightmare unfolds in public, sources reveal that Harry and Meghan are living in a state of constant tension behind the polished gates of their California mansion. The couple's carefully orchestrated public appearances have become increasingly strained, with Meghan reportedly struggling to maintain her composed public persona while privately dealing with the crushing stress of potentially losing everything she's worked to build. The most devastating aspect for their relationship is that Harry is reportedly beginning to question whether Meghan's version of her family dynamics was entirely accurate. While he initially supported her narrative without question, the mounting legal pressure and evidence being presented in court has allegedly created uncomfortable conversations behind closed doors. Their professional relationships are cracking under pressure as well. Sources reveal that shared business ventures and charitable foundations are being scrutinized by partners and donors who are concerned about reputational risk. The couple's carefully planned media strategy has reportedly been thrown into chaos, with PR advisors recommending complete silence while legal advisors push for more aggressive public positioning. The financial strain is becoming equally problematic. Legal experts estimate that fighting this appeal and potential trial could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney fees alone, money that comes directly out of the couple's attempts to establish financial independence from the royal family. Perhaps most troubling is the impact on their family security and children. The ongoing litigation has increased concerns about harassment and unwanted attention from media outlets and Meghan's estranged family members. The couple allegedly fears that a prolonged legal battle could expose their children to unwanted scrutiny and potentially dangerous situations. Sources say the psychological toll is devastating. Meghan is reportedly experiencing the kind of intense media pressure and legal stress that contributed to her decision to leave royal life in the first place. The irony isn't lost on observers that her attempts to escape family drama and legal constraints have led her directly into a potentially more damaging situation with even higher personal stakes. The evidence matrix that could destroy everything, every single word Meghan has ever spoken about her family, is now being dissected like forensic evidence in a criminal investigation, and the results are reportedly more damaging than anyone in Team Sussex anticipated. Legal experts reveal that Samantha's appellate team has created what they call a quote-unquote statement matrix that cross-references Meghan's public comments with documented evidence about her actual relationship with her half-sister. The Oprah interview, once seen as Meghan's masterpiece of narrative control, has become her legal Achilles heel. Samantha's lawyers are reportedly armed with photographs, school records, and witness testimony that allegedly paint a very different picture of the sisters' relationship during Meghan's childhood and teenage years. But it's not just the major interviews causing problems. Court observers reveal that Samantha's legal team has been methodically cataloging every podcast appearance, every authorized biography quote, and every seemingly innocent comment Meghan made about family dynamics. Statements that seemed harmless in isolation are now being woven together into what lawyers describe as a pattern of allegedly deliberate misrepresentation. The most dangerous statements for Meghan are her comments about family members being manipulated by outside forces, and her implications that certain relatives were motivated by financial gain rather than genuine relationships. Under Florida's defamation standards, these statements could be legally devastating if they're proven false or presented without adequate evidence. Industry insiders say major media outlets are now reluctant to feature Meghan in interviews that touch on family topics, knowing that anything she says could become evidence in ongoing or future legal proceedings. The woman who once commanded global attention for her willingness to speak openly about personal struggles is now being advised by multiple legal teams to avoid discussing huge portions of her life story. The ripple effect is creating a nightmare for Meghan's brand management team. How do you maintain authenticity and relatability when huge chunks of your origin story are legally off limits? Her media appearances have become increasingly scripted and cautious, stripping away the spontaneous vulnerability that made her such a compelling public figure. Hollywood's wake-up call. The entertainment industry's power brokers are treating this legal battle like a watershed moment for celebrity narrative control, and the implications are sending shockwaves through executive suites across Hollywood. Meghan's situation has become a cautionary tale about the risks of building brands on personal storytelling, especially when those stories involve living family members who might have different versions of events. Streaming executives are having emergency meetings about their celebrity partnerships, with the concern extending far beyond Meghan's specific legal troubles. It's about the broader question of what happens when a content creator's personal credibility becomes legally questionable. The timing couldn't be worse for Meghan's Hollywood ambitions. Just as she was beginning to establish herself as a serious content creator and producer, this legal battle is making industry decision-makers question whether she's worth the potential headaches. Several projects that were in early development discussions have been quietly shelved until the legal situation resolves. Celebrity publicists and crisis management experts across Hollywood are using Meghan's situation as a teaching moment for their own clients about the importance of being careful when discussing family relationships in public forums. The message is clear: even seemingly innocent comments about personal history can become legal weapons. Major brands are now implementing family litigation clauses in celebrity endorsement contracts, protecting themselves from association with stars who become embroiled in defamation battles with relatives. The idea that your own family members could become legal threats to your marketability is keeping celebrity lawyers busier than ever. Talent agencies are advising their clients to have family members sign non-disclosure agreements before engaging in major media campaigns that discuss personal history. Hollywood is learning that in the age of personal branding, your biggest threat might not be competitors or critics. It might be the people who share your DNA. The countdown to judgment. The judges who heard those September oral arguments now hold Meghan Markle's entire future in their hands, and their decision could arrive at any moment like a bombshell that will either vindicate the Duchess or destroy everything she's worked to build since leaving royal life. Court watchers reveal that the typical timeline for appellate decisions in Florida means the ruling could come within weeks, creating an atmosphere of suffocating suspense that's reportedly consuming every aspect of Meghan's daily existence. She's allegedly checking legal news obsessively, knowing that any day could bring the decision that either saves her carefully constructed new life or destroys it completely. If the appeal succeeds and Samantha's lawsuit is reinstated, the consequences will be absolutely devastating. A reinstated case would likely lead to extensive discovery processes, where Meghan's most private thoughts and calculations could be exposed in court filings for the entire world to scrutinize. But even if the judges uphold the original dismissal, Meghan's victory might be hollow. The damage to her reputation and brand relationships has already been done, with the mere existence of this appellate challenge demonstrating that her family narrative isn't as settled as she once claimed. The uncertainty and ongoing legal drama have allegedly already cost her millions in potential partnerships and projects that will never be recovered regardless of the legal outcome. The broader implications are staggering. If Samantha wins, she'll have successfully challenged one of the most powerful celebrity narratives in recent memory, potentially setting a legal precedent that could embolden other family members of celebrities to challenge their relatives' public statements. If she loses, the defeat could end her hopes of ever clearing her name or recovering from years of allegedly defamatory statements. The royal family is reportedly watching this appellate decision with intense interest, knowing that the outcome could impact how Meghan's departure from royal duties is remembered by history. A legal finding that she defamed her own family members would cast her complaints about royal treatment in an entirely different light. The final reckoning, what we're witnessing, isn't just a legal battle between two estranged sisters. It's a fundamental test of whether celebrities can completely rewrite their personal histories without consequences. The outcome will determine whether there are legal limits to narrative control, even for the most powerful public figures. The countdown to judgment has transformed Meghan from the confident truth-teller who sat across from Oprah into someone reportedly living in constant fear of legal and professional annihilation. The sister she allegedly tried to erase from her story might be about to have the final word after all. And here's the most haunting part of this entire saga. There's absolutely nothing Meghan can do but wait for 3 judges to decide whether her truth was actually the truth or just another celebrity's carefully crafted fiction. The woman who spent years fighting for control over her own narrative now finds herself completely powerless, watching as others decide the fate of everything she's built. The final showdown between these estranged sisters isn't happening in a courtroom or television studio. It's happening in the quiet chambers where appellate judges review legal briefs and decide which version of the truth deserves to survive. Whatever happens next, this case has already changed the rules of celebrity storytelling forever. And Meghan Markle, whether she wins or loses, will be remembered as the cautionary tale that taught Hollywood that even the most carefully constructed narratives can crumble when they collide with legal reality. The clock is ticking, the judges are deliberating, and somewhere in Montecito, a former duchess is waiting to learn whether her new life will survive the reckoning with her old one. What do you think will happen when that decision finally comes down? The next chapter of this story is about to be written, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.